In 1783, John Dawson of Bath, England, invented a wheelchair and named it after the town of Bath. Dawson designed a chair with two large wheels and one small one. The Bath wheelchair outsold all other wheelchairs throughout the early part of the 19th century. Chairs like this were once a common sight on city streets across Europe. It carried the sick from their lodgings to and from the healing centers and the rich and famous about their business in the city. The Bath chair is displayed at the Assembly Rooms in Bath. The Bath Assembly Rooms, designed by John Wood, are a set of elegant assembly rooms located in the heart of the World Heritage City of Bath in England, which are now open to the public as a visitor attraction. This is a typical Bath chair, which was available in the 18th century in exchange for work or payment. They brought the sick to get water at the pump room or to bathe in these chairs. The chair gained in popularity, and by 1830, it had replaced other chairs at this time. These three-wheeled chairs remained popular all through the 19th century. The 18th century crutch is similar to the one depicted in the image. It was not adjustable, and rags were wound around the top to make the crutch less painful. The old models were very uncomfortable. However, the Bath wheelchair was not that comfortable, and during the last half of the 19th century, many improvements were made to wheelchairs. The chair's popularity was eventually beat by the two-man sedan chair, probably because it cut the labor costs in half. Despite modification and improvement in the 20th century, the Bath chair lost out to competition from motorized taxis and lightweight wheelchairs affordable enough to be privately owned. In 1875, the New York Times stated, "The chairmen were fine, robust men. They had little regard for foot passengers and considered the pavement their own exclusive property. It was rather an amusing sight to witness how the men trotted off when a chair was required, racing to be first for hire. After a time, sedan chairs got out of fashion, except at Bath, Cheltenham, and Leamington, where they were in favor for many years." Jane Austen's association with Bath is significant and enduring. Jane Austen lived in Bath from 1801 to 1806, and it features as a major setting in two of her novels, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion. Bath capitalizes on its connection with the author through an extremely well-developed tourist industry. "When is your next ball to be, Lizzie?" "Tomorrow fortnight." "Aye, so it is," cried her mother, "and Mrs. Long does not come back till the day before, so it will be impossible for her to introduce him, for she will not know him herself." "Then, my dear, you may have the advantage of your friend, and introduce Mr. Bingley to her." "Impossible, Mr. Bennet, impossible. When am I not acquainted with him myself? How can you be so teasing?" "I think we should focus on how I'm going to get inside," interrupted Elizabeth. "I think there is only one step to get inside, my dear Lizzie. Don't even worry. We will find a way to get you inside no matter what the circumstances are," her mother cried. "What will you do, carry her in?" Mr. Bennet exclaimed. "What say you, Mary? For you, a young lady of deep reflection, I know, and read great books and make extracts." Mary wished to say something very sensible, but knew not how. "While Mary is adjusting her ideas," he continued, "let us return to Mr. Bingley." Chapter 3. Elizabeth Bennet had been obliged, by the scarcity of gentlemen, to sit down for 2 dances, although she assumed it was because of her wheelchair that no one would ask her to dance. During part of that time, Mr. Darcy had been standing near enough for her to overhear conversation between him and Mr. Bingley, who came from the dance for a few minutes to press his friend to join it. "Come, Darcy," said he, "I must have you dance. I hate to see you standing about by yourself in this stupid manner. You had much better dance." "I certainly shall not. You know how I detest it, unless I am particularly acquainted with my partner. At such an assembly as this, it would be insupportable. Your sisters are engaged, and there is not another woman in the room whom it would not be a punishment to me to stand up with. Upon my honor, I never met with so many pleasant girls in my life as I have this evening, and there are several of them you see uncommonly pretty, cried Bingley. You are dancing with the only handsome girl in the room, said Mr. Darcy, looking at the eldest Miss Bennet. Oh, she is the most beautiful creature I ever beheld, but there is one of her sisters sitting down just behind you, who is very pretty, and I dare say very agreeable. Do let me ask my partner to introduce you. Which do you mean? And turning around, he looked for a moment at Elizabeth, till catching her eye, he quickly withdrew his own and coldly said, The cripple? She is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. With what legs will she dance with? You had better return to your partner and enjoy her smiles, for you are wasting your time with me. Mr. Bingley followed his advice. Mr. Darcy walked off, and Elizabeth remained with no very cordial feelings towards him, but more of a disgust. Chapter 15. His plan did not vary on seeing them. Miss Bennet's lovely face confirmed his views, and established all his strictest notions of what was due to seniority, and for the first evening she was his settled choice. The next morning, however, made an alteration during a conversation that he had with Mrs. Bennet before breakfast, a conversation beginning with his parsonage house, and leading naturally to the avowal of his hopes. Her eldest daughter, she must mention, was likely to be very soon engaged. Mr. Collins had only to change from Jane to Elizabeth, in which he was greatly offended. But I promise that Elizabeth is equally next to Jane in beauty and talents, Mrs. Bennet replied, hoping soon to have her two eldest daughters married. I refuse, Mr. Collins stated, with his nose in the air. How dare you expect me to be caught anywhere in public with the sick?